All right, everybody, it is that time. Welcome to Processing Out Loud here on Twitter Spaces. I'm your host, Madeline Littrell Coyle, and today we will be diving in a little deeper to some of the topics we discussed this week at Intel Vision. We had an awesome week, and there is a lot to unpack. So joining me today, Stephanie Halford, Vice President and General Manager, Business Client Platforms at Intel, along with Brad Hazinski, Vice President and General Manager of our NEX sales group here at Intel, and Jeremy Rader, General Manager, Enterprise Strategy and Solutions at Intel. Again, if you have any questions for our panel today, please feel free to tweet them out and tag us at #IntelOn, and we'll try to get through as many as we possibly can. A big welcome to our panel. Welcome. Is everyone excited to be here today?
You bet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for having us.
Yes, I'm loving this energy. Yeah, thanks for being here today. All right, Stephanie, let's start with you. Ladies first. Chip to Cloud Solutions. Today's workforce is more distributed than ever before. Will you tell us your thoughts on the importance of reaching out and managing those PCs?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I think you'd have to be under a rock to have not been affected by the last, 2 years of change, particularly in, work and life and balancing all of the new changes. And nobody has been more impacted than IT administrators who are trying to keep PCs secure, keep employees productive, and do this, from their homes in cases because they're not back at the office either. So the complexities have really grown. And, while we didn't predict that reality, we were ready for it at Intel. We have, built into our vPro business PC platform, the ability we have hardware-based security, and we can talk about that in a minute. But on the manageability side, it allows IT managers to, let's do an example. I'm an IT manager. I'm sitting in LA, Los Angeles, and I've got to onboard a new employee in Brisbane and end of life another employee, in Abu Dhabi. And with our vPro solutions, we are capable of, even if the OS is down, or let's say that person in Abu Dhabi went to sleep and closed their computer completely, I can reach that PC, turn it on, check that it is up to date on its security patching. I can do any updates, all while even when the PC was dead, asleep, nobody was in front of it, and then get all that done. And the next morning, my employee in Brisbane or Abu Dhabi wakes up and is ready to go. And so we haven't disrupted the business day, we haven't disrupted productivity, but we've kept that network up and running from LA. So it's a pretty valuable feature, and we've had a lot of uptick in the use of our vPro manageability, particularly since the pandemic took hold.
Oh, I bet. And to your point, all of our businesses are growing globally, but they also don't want disruption to their workday. So to be able to do that and scale that globally without disrupting a workday is huge. It's a huge benefit. Let's move on to security. Pat talked a lot about the digital transformation, how every company is evolving to become a tech company, but also joining us on our Vision Live session to talk about how with that increased responsibility comes increased security risks. And security is another area businesses of every size will have to address. So how is Intel helping address all of these increasing threats to security?
Yeah, we have been really focused in the area of security, and we are the only, let me just take a moment to toot our own horn. We are the only business PC platform that has, the level of hardware-based security capabilities built right into the silicon. One of the things that I talked about at Intel Vision was the reality that there are 10,000 malware attacks every hour happening on Earth today. It's
unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so we have really utilized the unique telemetry we have at the hardware layer to inform and help protect those PCs. And I'll give an example. We have something called threat detection, which is the capability, we have counters down at the silicon CPU level that are able to detect anomalies and recognize them as either cryptojacking, ransomware, various malware style attacks. And when we have that information and we continuously improve and through our AI capabilities, improve our intelligence on what type of attack that is, and therefore how should the system respond. And then we work with our partners in the ecosystem, Examples are CrowdStrike or Windows Defender, and they have built solutions utilizing our telemetry. And so as we alert the system, we have enabled the software to come in and either encrypt the memory, shut down the machine entirely, whatever needs to be done to protect, the data and the assets. And we are by far the only business platform today that offers that kind of both hardware and software level protection. And not only is it, so important to avoid catastrophic IT, or assets or IP actually, and intellectual property loss, but it really gives, I think, employees a little bit of peace of mind when we're doing what we're doing, which is working out of airports and coffee shops and
Mm-hmm.
home, as well as, maybe in a corporate office. And we're capable of, since this is built into the hardware, it's available no matter where you are.
Well, I loved the opening video for our keynote two for day two that everyone is live on the newsroom. There's a plug. You can go back and rewatch it if you didn't. But the opening video talks about how, you don't even think about the security of your fish tank, but we at Intel, we do. And we're the only
Right.
company with the breadth and depth to be able to handle everything from the concerns of your business to the concerns of your fish tank.
That's right. Happy
Love
fish,
that.
happy employer, happy employees.
All the way around, full circle. I have one more question for you. How are Intel and VMware modernizing work from anywhere with vPro and the Workspace ONE platform?
Yeah, it's been super exciting. I had my partner from VMware on stage with me, and we, talked a lot about, step one in our strategic partnership was simply to integrate some of the things that I just described, the remote manageability capabilities into, and some of the security capabilities into Workspace ONE, and that is available today. We're just getting out and launching that capability. So if you are a Workspace ONE customer and you have vPro, you're able to do all of what we just described, I just described previously, through their cloud offering. So done natively through the cloud, very easy to activate. Now what we're moving in this partnership is into joint development and co-development. So in the second half of this year, you'll see us introducing, as I said earlier, you can power on someone in Abu Dhabi and due to our silicon-based telemetry, understand, is that PC up to date? Is it been patched? Is the firmware? Are all the drivers there? And we're able to then remediate that through some of the Workspace ONE security capabilities. And it's truly powerful. We are basically starting to pilot some of those capabilities now, and customers are ecstatic. Right now, what most IT departments are able to do is just simply know there's security problems, but they don't know which device has that security problem. They're not sure at what level. And even if they could determine that, they don't necessarily have the ability to remediate through the cloud. So
Mm-hmm.
this is really the best of the best, bringing our silicon and hardware expertise and firmware and security capabilities with Workspace ONE and the fantastic cloud-based, SaaS solutions that they offer.
I can see why customers would be ecstatic about this.
It's been fun. It's been fun, and they're a great partner. And yeah, we enjoyed our time together at Intel Vision too. It was great to be live and have that energy again. So thoroughly enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And you can catch that Biz Insight starting on May 18th on the Vision website. So everybody go rewatch it if you didn't get a chance to watch it live. Just a plug for Stephanie and team. Okay, let's move over to Brad. Stephanie, thank you. And I'm sure we
You
will
bet.
be back. More questions. And that is a reminder that if you do have questions for this panel, please feel free to tweet those out. Use hashtag IntelOn, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Okay, Brad, over to you in transforming industries at the edge. As compute moves out of the data center and onto the edge, industries are being transformed. Can you give us an example or two of industries that are taking advantage of the intelligent edge and maybe how they work a little differently now?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a delight to be here. Yeah, one of the things that I was excited about at Vision is I think we really came out and showcased through many of the keynotes and breakouts around how the world is changing and how industries are transforming through digital transformation. And you know, one of the things we've heard consistently, but really COVID-19, as Stephanie said, COVID-19 was almost a forcing function. If you rewind the clock and you think about what happened the first several months of COVID, retail stores were shutting down, industrial factory floors were shutting down. This is why we're in the current supply chain challenge we're in today, because People were not showing up at the manufacturing floors. Doors were closed for the pandemic, and how much of the setback, and this is across almost every industry and every manufacturing plant. So the sense
Right.
of urgency of needing to automate your capabilities, for instance, in industrial, we can choose industrial as a great example. So there's several things happening. First is I need to have more automation of my capabilities on, say, a manufacturing floor. The second challenge is that when the more automation you set up in, say, an industrial setting, the more data you're actually generating. And so there are a few concerns on, while cloud computing is here to stay and will play a very important role in the future, all things in this world, now you're getting into situations where you're generating a significant amount of data that needs to be stored, it needs to be analyzed. In many cases on factory floors, you have thousands of sensors, you have robotics. Hearing about use cases like defect detection, which we gave a spot welding use case on the agriculture side of how when John Deere was building their tractors by using AI and OpenVINO and camera technology, they can spot welding defects almost instantaneously and take care of it, is waiting to a further down process with a human inspection. And so all of this is happening rapidly and it's happening across multiple industries. But what we're seeing is a lot of new technologies being deployed. So one, if you're an industrial manufacturing customer, you're generating tons of data on a factory. Like I said, it needs to be processed, analyzed, and stored. And a lot of times you don't even have time to send the data to the cloud. A lot of applications in an industrial setting, time sensitive applications, they need to have some sort of reaction instantaneously. And so what we're seeing is this phenomenon, which we've been talking about for several years, which is the data needs to be processed to where the data is actually being generated. And what this is this is OT environments. This is what we call the operational technology environments. And even if you go back to Stephanie's comments, this is a challenge for IT administrators as well, because in the industry, there has been this IT OT merge. You know, if you are a company, a manufacturing company, even in Intel, right, we have our manufacturing capability, technology in the manufacturing, but the OT leaders are going to look back to the IT to say, well, what technologies do we have? What partners do we have? What technology? But the OT space is very different. So we're seeing this happen. We're seeing things like private networks. You'll hear a lot in the coming year about 5G. You know, you have capabilities from partners like Nokia and others who can now go and say, hey, I can set up a private network in a factory environment. I can connect all these devices to a network that has low latency, quality of service, right? This is where the Wi-Fi limitations, Wi-Fi is great consumer technology, but once you move into these enterprise OT environments, there are challenges with Wi-Fi, like latency and how many devices. That 5G capability really changes the game. And there's a lot of underlying Intel hardware in many of the 5G private network stacks that are out there. So now you can take a private network, you can connect lots of devices, you can do lots of AI. So we really see this happening in every industry. So that was one big example with industrial. The last one I'll just give you is just, there was another great example of a touchless store. You know, during the pandemic, you know, if you just take retail brick and mortar, you know, one of the challenges, how do you get customers and out store? And in the middle of a pandemic, we're now starting to see these, what we call frictionless retail stores popping up, where there's literally no one in the store. In the store, you have an application, you scan the barcode, you sign up for the particular application, you go to the store, you pick everything you want out of the store. For you know, the store knows what you're taking off the shelf, right? And then you just simply walk the store and you get charged for the purchases you made, a completely frictionless experience. Most of the things that are happening from a compute perspective are occurring on edge devices that are in that store. And so you're just seeing this play out, and we go across every industry from energy to manufacturing to agriculture to, like I said, retail, hospitality, health, life sciences, hospitals, more and more coming where that data needs to be computed at the edge.
Well, to your point, this stretches across all industries. And it was so cool to hear some of these examples and to see them live in person at Vision. Like John Deere was one of Pat's favorites, and he talked when he came on the show. And to that point, developing this intelligent edge technology, it requires more than just us, just Intel. So what are some ways that we're partnering with companies to drive innovation at the edge?
Yeah, it's great. And I want to last comment before I jump into what it takes to partner on the innovation. You know, you heard Christoph, our leader talk a lot about outcome-based selling. We have to drive value for our customers. And what we're seeing is when you get into these edge conversations and you start talking about OT environments, it's no longer about speed, it's about what's my outcome. So if you go back to the industrial example, it's oh, I can lower my operational cost. I have more automation on the factory floor. This is driving my top line. So you're really getting the attention of COOs and CEOs of companies of saying there needs to be a business outcome to the deployment of technology in these OTs. So that's a very, very important and difference for what's occurring here at the edge. So
Right.
innovation at the edge, there's a lot of complexity here where you need multiple partner types. So when you think about, talked about yesterday, Nick had mentioned in his keynote, the market-ready solutions, right? So when you have a particular use case and you want to scale that in the market, a lot of times it's okay, there's an underlying hardware platform. Then there is some software that gets coupled with it. It might be delivered by an ODM. Then you have application developers who want to drop applications on top of this platform. And so, it really requires this robust, you need ISVs, you need systems integrators, you need ODMs, you need OEMs, and even OT systems integrators, right? So it's the what we call the GSPs, right? The global solutions providers, and like the Capgeminis and the Accentures, a lot of their focus over the years has been building private clouds and hybrid clouds and IT environments. When you get to OT environments, you need these leaders that actually are experts in installing cameras, installing edge compute devices, rolling out wires and Cat6 cables. So, we didn't even have, it wasn't, we first approached this OTSI market, when we first said, hey, we really need to bring this partner ecosystem, they were like, well, why would you bring us in? And then I think when we showed where we were going with the edge, it just shows that it really takes to deliver solutions in this space. Because like I said, it's about complexity. There's a lot more developers involved, and you really have to bring them all to the table. And we're going to coalesce that ecosystem to drive solutions in the market, like market-ready solutions, so we can drive scale.
We talked about the outcome and making a pivot in how these technologies and how we sell them and how we consider them. But what do you think is most critical in developing this robust partner ecosystem that you're talking about?
Well, I'm a sales guy, so I think it's very simple. Value. We have to create
Right.
a value exchange for our partners, right? So, one of the things we've been doing, and we talked about it a lot at Vision this week, we saw some of the partner sit downs with Pat and Christoph, et cetera. And it's really around, we created the Intel Partner Alliance framework. It's much more of a one Intel approach. In the past, Intel had several different partner types. Bring it under one umbrella, right? And to do that, you have to have a robust value exchange. Partners have to feel that, they get paid and incentivized to help drive our stuff, right? So what do we do under IPA? We created a partner university where all the partners can get together and they can look at all the Intel technologies, understand what's coming, and figure out where is their place in that value chain. We have our solutions community where different partner types can come together and meet and talk about, hey, I can provide this part, maybe you can provide this part. And then, like I said, we have market-ready solutions, RRKs, but really it's about partners participating in the opportunity, because one of the things about Intel is we are, at the end of the day, still a semiconductor manufacturing company. For a company that has 120,000 employees, the large majority of those employees are actually on technology development and manufacturing. So Intel has to generate $1 billion of revenue with a pretty small but mighty sales force of less than 5,000 people. Therefore, you must scale through your partner ecosystem, right? So we continuously learn and apply, and we listen to our partners, right? As we kicked off IPA, we are constantly looking for that feedback on what would you like to see for us? What does a value exchange look like for you? And as we start talking about things like software and services, you hear Pat talking very openly about we need to be better about not just being a hardware company, but we provide a lot of value add software and capabilities. And what does that look like in the future for Intel on monetization? And you're certainly going to do that through a robust partner ecosystem and a value exchange.
And as a sales guy, how good did it feel to be back in person this week, especially with the IPA summit on site?
Oh, absolutely amazing. I think Stephanie said it best. It was almost surreal to be back in the room with our customers and our partners. And I will tell you, they have never been more excited. Pat has really energized and jazzed everything back up to, Intel's back. And one thing I heard over and over and over again in many of our conversations with our customers and partners is, this is what I expect from Intel. It's good to feel the energy and the passion back, and they want to work with us. They want Intel to succeed.
So I think we lost Maddie.
Yeah.
Brad, Jeremy, there?
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm
I think
still here.
I think
I'm
we're
ready
having
to
some
go.
technical. Hey, I think we're having some technical difficulties, Jeremy. But I can ask the questions if you want.
Well, there were some questions I saw pop up for Jeremy. Maybe you could just read them, Jeremy, and keep going.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I think we'll see if we can get Maddie back on here in just a second. But one of the things that I saw pop up was around what we're doing to help kind of organizations to build and execute on digital first strategy. So, that could be something that I'll dive into a little bit here, and then we'll see if we get Maddie back on, and we'll keep digging into some of the other questions. But one thing, Brad actually mentioned it and said that we are primarily a hardware company. But I heard a number at Intel Vision that we have around 17,000 software developers in the company today, which honestly is already 2,000 or 3,000 more than the last time I heard the number, which isn't that long ago. So we're growing the software space of the company at a pretty amazing rate. And those developers are working across ecosystem, open source community, and we're even building in-house software at times to fill some critical gaps and holes to really drive kind of that next bit of innovation and continue to advance where companies can take their digital first strategy. So I think that's a pretty impressive space that is, again, one of those little known facts that not a lot of people are aware of. But then you take that, and what we're really seeing in the enterprise, which is the area that I spend a lot of my time, is across all industries, companies are adopting their digital technologies at a rapid pace, something I have not seen this pace in my career anyway. And they're using new technologies to drive breakthroughs in innovation. They could be advancing business solutions. They could be focusing on their new normal. It could be completely new interactive experiences. And they're really using Intel technologies as a way to drive a lot of those changes and those innovations. So, we're helping these organizations through a lot of different combinations. It could be the hardware, the software that we just talked about, services that we just talked about. And this can be in areas from achieving zero trust security and identity and compliance management, which is top of mind for so many CIOs, especially right now, or advancing the way that they insights and build their data literacy. And that could be through a more comprehensive analytics and AI strategy to really look at those business outcomes. And I love Brad mentioned that, really looking at the outcome-based selling. What are we trying to get customers and partners to? We also know that cloud architecture is a huge shift. Over the last couple of years, we saw it even more so than ever before. A combination of not just destination, but how are they designing new applications with a more portable and kind of lightweight model. So really helping to activate a mature and agile strategy across your hybrid and multi-cloud, all the way out to the intelligent edge, as Brad was mentioning. So we have a lot of years of experience now. What we tend to get into with enterprises is they're looking for those best known methods and those ways to drive adoption faster and to make sure that they don't have blind spots as they head down these kind of new spaces. I think that Stephanie mentioned a bit of this as well, this kind of new normal of workforce, boundaryless workforce, and what we can be doing there to help redefine the employee experience, something that we can continue to innovate on together, because ultimately we've got to foster these healthy and inclusive workforces of the future, and technology plays a critical role in doing that. And then I would just say the last piece on this one, embracing sustainability, right? Exemplifying a culture of sustainability. Everything from, we know that compute continues to grow, whether it's in data center and cloud, at the edge, portable, right? Everything's consuming. And so we want to make sure that we're doing our part and partnering with our customers and partners to collaborate on new technologies to drive sustainability and really keep that front and center, right? It's a team effort, something that we have to work on together, because this is a long haul, but we've got to make sure that as compute continues to grow, that we manage that effectively. So I think those are a couple areas that we see happening around this digital first world, and it is moving so fast that we've got to make sure that we continue to help future-proof our partners and our customers for what's coming next.
I love how you say, Jeremy, future-proofing. And hello, you're hired as both host and panelist now, so thank you for that.
I'll keep reading questions till
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I love how you're saying future-proof, because Pat talked about how this digital transformation, and we talked about this earlier with Stephanie, that means that every company is evolving into a technology company. So
That's
what are
right.
some examples of our partner solutions that are addressing this digital transformation?
Yeah, well, one, we're back at Vision, and so I actually got to
Yeah,
meet with partners face to face. It was just awesome to
feels
get
so
back
good,
in the
right?
room and see people face to face, many of those that I've not asked to meet. So just awesome to go from a 2x2 screen on Teams to real live human interaction. So it was really fantastic. Our partners are critically important. I'd mentioned it as well. It's scale. There's so much innovation in the world coming from our partners, and so continuing to work with this very expanded network, it continues to grow rapidly. We have built digital marketplaces together. We have industry leading training curriculum together. It spans everything from our hardware OEMs, system integrators, solution providers, software providers, probably missing some disruptors, startup community, right? They all fit into this partner ecosystem of ours. And these relationships span industries as well. We know that there's both horizontal necessity, whether it's around the data platforms and the infrastructure platforms, but all the way to what's required in financial services and health and life sciences, and these very vertical specific needs. And I'll talk about one example in particular is a partnership with Fortanix. So Intel partnered with Fortanix, which is a data first multi-cloud security company, and really a pioneer in confidential computing, which is a topic that's getting a lot of press these days. And we developed a solution, the Intel security solution for Fortanix confidential AI. And if we could have made it longer, we would have. So we'll keep adding words to that solution. It'll be the longest one you've ever heard of. But this solution is really built on the heavy focus that we're seeing across industries on identity and cybersecurity. The comment earlier, what was it, 10,000 attacks an hour? I heard that continues to grow at just a rate that will probably make all of us freak out a little bit. So this is especially important these days. And what I really love about this solution and appreciate about it with Fortanix is that it's turnkey. It really uniquely delivers high performance, efficiency, and security all together, which if you've worked in this space for long, those three dials, those value dials are often at odds with each other. So continuing to bring that performance with efficiency and pure security is very important to our end customers. And so this solution with Fortanix enables confidential computing on everything from your AI models, which are, again, top of mind for a lot of CIOs right now, and data, and can be shared without exposing the IP, the intellectual property, and the sensitive data. So this enables, think of it as security, actually encrypting the data while it's in use. And it's using something that's called Intel Software Guard Extension, so SGX. And if you haven't spent much time diving into security, or it's a topic of interest, I definitely people to go out and learn a little bit about SGX, because I think it's a really valuable capability that lets everything that I just mentioned happen without having to modify applications. So we need that easy button here as much as we can make it happen. So very cool feature, a good example of where we can collaborate with our partners that are trying to really innovate and drive the next generation of security protection.
Love that idea of the easy button.
Yes,
The
for
easy
sure.
button for our
Everyone
customers.
wants the easy button.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know we're going a little over, but I would like to ask you your last question, if you can stay on for a few more minutes. Is
Yes,
that
of
cool with
course.
you?
Yes.
All right. So we know how important the needs of our customers are. We just heard Brad talk about that as well, delivering value. So beyond the technology, how is Intel delivering on those intangible values, like listening to the needs of our customers?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. And again, at Vision, we had a chance to do that in the format like we've all loved, which is face to face.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I mentioned, Intel's more than a hardware company. We are in the software and services space as well. So the feedback that we get from both our customers and our partners, which are often a proxy to even more customers out there in the market, is critically important to us. It helps us establish everything from our product roadmaps, some of the software and ecosystem engagements, all the way to solutions in these kind of critical domains that we've been mentioning throughout the discussion here. So we hold everything from customer and partner advisory boards. We do this globally. We had Vision this week where we got tons of feedback. And we have these mechanisms with the partners and customers that we collaborate with closely to ensure that we don't get stuck in the loop of a build that they will come. That doesn't work, right? We need to make sure that we know where partners are going, the challenges that they're facing, where customers are driving digital transformation. And then all that feedback is what we weave throughout the Intel machine, right? That hardware and software machine. So we do a lot of industry education. We do certifications for training companies with any skill gaps or new areas that they're trying to grow into. And, listening to our customers is really how we know at the end of the day that we're on the right track, that we're building the right things. And again, on the word future proof, we've got to get to where enterprises feel like they're building the capabilities, not just for today, but preparing themselves for the next big thing, the next big innovation or big path they're heading down.
Well, and I love how so many people talked at Innovation. You heard a lot of customers and partners saying Intel is back, right? This Intel that we know and love, who's delivering now to solve today's challenges for the next big thing. We're back. And I think
Felt
part of
good.
that, yeah, it did feel good, right? And part of that comes from listening to what our customers need, I think.
Absolutely agree.
Okay, well, thank you all for being here today. Thank you to all of our listeners who joined in. And we know all good things must come to an end. So thanks for being here. We're going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode of Processing Out Loud and wrap up a really big week with Intel Vision. So I'd like to thank Halford, Brad Hazinski, and Jeremy Rader for your time, for joining us today, for your insights. And for Intel, I am your host, Madeline Littrell. Thanks for listening.